Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, February 17th, 2017. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Jonah Booker. J-Book, there won't be a lot of new starters for Ohio State in 2017, but let's take a look at who they will be. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball, and we'll start with perhaps the most difficult. Who will be the Buckeyes' starting right guard?
I think they're going to go with Malcolm Pridgeon at that starting right guard spot. I think they're going to try to continue to develop Isaiah Prince. I may not agree with that. I'm not sure Isaiah Prince is the right guy to be that starting right tackle. But this coaching staff, they put a premium on experience. The guy did come on a little bit in that Clemson game. He had a bounce back. But they're trying to get the 5 best offensive linemen out there. And I think that's going to be Pridgeon, with Demetrius Knox in the battle for the left guard position, and maybe a Matthew Burrell in competition, but I think it's going to be Malcolm.
I agree with you. The other two open starting spots on offense I think are somewhat easy to predict, but maybe you have a different feeling. Let's start with who will take over for Noah Brown as a starting wide receiver.
I think that'll be Ben Victor's spot. He's someone who should have played a lot more during the season. I think you're actually going to see a more productive play from Ben Victor, a guy who's going to be able to stretch the field and at least get you those 50-50 jump balls, same way that Noah Brown did. But he's going to bring that speed element. A guy with the length and the speed of his caliber will definitely help pop the top off the defense and open up offense a little bit more. Then you're also going to see the other guys on the offense with Austin Mack. But it's interesting because the wide receiver rotation is so weird with Zach Smith. You never know what you're going to get any given Saturday or what the rotation is going to be. You definitely know that KJ Hill is going to be in that starting lineup, a guy who is another guy who should have been on the field a lot more. And it's going to be interesting to see if any of the incoming freshmen can make a statement. I expect to see other guys who are veterans, who were on the roster last year, as a Terry McLaurin, maybe get a little shot, as well as James Clark if he's still on the roster. But I think Ben Victor is going to be the head alpha dog of that group next year.
I agree with you again. Here's another one that I think is pretty easy, but we'll see what you think. Who will take over as the starting H-back?
Now, that's going to be very interesting. Right now, heading into the gates, you would have to say DeMario McCall is going to be the guy. I'm very excited about him. He has the potential to be dynamic. He's not as big as Curtis Samuel, so this offseason is going to be imperative that he gets bigger and stronger. It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do with J.K. Dobbins. I think he's good enough and big enough to be a true running back. They may give him a look there. Now, the other interesting dynamic is what are they going to do with Parris Campbell? Because to me, Parris Campbell is not a true wide receiver. He doesn't have the hands. He hasn't figured out the position mentally. The guy is big. If he moved to the H-back, he would be one of the biggest backs on the roster. If they move him there, he has the speed. He can absolutely push DeMario for that position. Or you could see a 2-platoon type of system where both of those guys try to make up the difference for Curtis Samuel. And then don't forget Eric Glover-Williams is another guy who could be in that role, who's moved over to Zone 6. And he was dynamic with the football in his hands at Kevin County. I think they wasted several years of his growth and development, moving him around on the defensive side of the ball. He should have been on offense from the start, but Eric Glover-Williams is another name to keep an eye on this spring.
Very interesting. I love your insights there, because I was thinking it was just going to be DeMario McCall, no questions asked, but you make some very good points there. Eric Glover-Williams will factor in there. And certainly I think Parris Campbell will factor in there as well. I've also thought there's a chance he might move to running back. Do you think there's a possibility he'd move to running back, or do you think if he moves positions, it'll just be to H-back?
I mean, the thing is with Parris, though, is for his career-wise, and if he wants to have a shot to make it to the next level, he needs to get away from that wide receiver position right away. He's played running back in high school. I think he can play it. He's more of a one cut and go type of player. He has elite speed. He just can't play the wide receiver position. Can he play running back? I have no doubt in my mind that he can play running back. But do they want to utilize him more in a similar fashion that they use Curtis Samuel, to where he can run those, those intermediate routes between, 0 to 10 yards, and he can also line up in the backfield. So if you move him to H, you can kind of get the best of both worlds. If you move him to running back there, it's going to be interesting, and I think moving him to running back also going to be contingent on the development of Antonio Williams. Has Williams dropped a lot of the baby fat? Is he ready to go to spill Weber whenever he needs to blow? And also the emergence of J.K. Dobbins. Is J.K. showing that he can be an early contributor in spring practice? I think we'll take into consideration on if they want to move Parris to a true running back. But whatever they decide, he needs to get into that position as soon as possible and start learning the nuances of it, because he moved to that wide receiver position as soon as he got out of high school, and he struggled learning that position. So it's going to be interesting to see how fast he can actually pick it up.
All right, let's switch to the defensive side of the ball. Buckeyes will be replacing 4 starters defensively. Let's begin with the really tough one, Jay Book. Who will take over for Raekwon McMillan as the starting middle linebacker?
That one is a very tough one there, because you have a bevy of options with that linebacker position. I mean, everybody has been ranting and raving about Malik Harrison, the guy who was probably the lowest rated recruit coming in his class, a guy I wasn't very high on, and I wrote a post on the board eating my crow, because all indications are he was another gem that Lou Fickell delivered to the program, and he is a massive dude. You're talking about a guy who's probably 6'4", pushing almost 240. He has the size to play that Mike position, filling in for Raekwon, so that's an option. It's also going to be interesting to see what they do with Dante Booker. But Booker, he's so injury prone lately these last couple of years. You don't know how much you're going to be able to depend on him, but he's an option depending on how much bigger he can get, because he's more of a lanky type of guy. And then a couple of the other guys, the freshmen coming in, you also have Browning, who they've told Browning that he needs to be ready to play, because they're going to give him a shot to see if he can fill in. So if I had to take a guess right now, I think it's going to be Malik Harrison, who shocks everyone, comes out of nowhere, one of the most underrated guys who came into a Ohio State program from all indications with a relentless mentality. He wants to smack anything that moves on the offensive side of football. So I'm going to give it to Harrison.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I love that you're thinking outside the box there. At safety, who's going to replace Malik Hooker?
That's an easy one. I'm going with Jordan Fuller there. Greg Schiano seems to love what Fuller brings. He has the length that you're looking for in the safety. He has the wiggle to go down in the box and play against a slot wide receiver or a tight end. He has freakish athleticism, so I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. Replacing Malik Hooker, who's going to be a top 10 NFL draft pick, is going to be tough, but I like the upside of what Jordan Fuller brings to the table.
I agree with you there completely. And the final 2 open starting spots defensively, both at corner. Who are going to fill the starting corner spots?
That's going to be interesting. I think to start, you're going to see Damon Arnett and Ward get the first crack at it. It's going to be contingent on how the younger guys ball out in spring ball. Can they beat them out? That's the thing. They're not just going to hand that position over to the newer guys. They're going to have to beat out Ward and Arnett. Can they do it? I mean, there's a lot of talk that Arnett could be moved to safety. That's a to-be-determined type of situation there. We've had mixed reviews about that. But I think it's going to be Arnett and Ward to start out. Now, can they get the JUCO kid to come in to beat those guys out? They're not bringing in the JUCO to fit the bench, so I think he has a legitimate shot. But as of today, I'm going to say it's Arnett and Ward.
And then let's look at special teams real quick. I think Parris Campbell, of course, the one thing that he's really proven is he is a very good kickoff returner. I think he's going to stay in that role. Who's going to move into the punt returning role? Who else could factor in at kick returner, in your opinion?
I think you could see a J.K. Dobbins factoring in as a kick returner. The open punt returner spot, you have a bevy of options there. Can Eric Glover Williams get his shot as a punt returner trying to get the ball in his hands? It's going to be interesting. I know they like to have their running backs and their most explosive players back there at the kick returner, but as far as a punt returner, that's a very tough one. I think you have so many options that it can go to anyone. I wouldn't actually mind seeing Parris Campbell to give him a crack at punt returner to see what he can do. Because the one thing with Parris, though, you give him a crease, he can hit it and go. That's the thing with a punt returner. You do need a little bit of wiggle to you, but if you can find that crease and hit it, there's big opportunities to flip the field. So I would say Parris first, then maybe a J.K. Dobbins on the kick return there with an Eric Glover Williams. But there's something telling me that Demario McCall is going to play a role in our special teams as well. He's another dynamic guy that can flip the field for you. So expect to see Demario McCall get some traction there as well.
And before I let you go real quick with the kicker and punter, I had somebody on Twitter ask me, hey, is the true freshman, best kicker in the country, is he going to be the kicker this year? Talking about Blake Hobble. And I said, no, don't forget about Sean Nurnberger. He's coming back as a fourth-year junior, and he's going to be the guy. I mean, I suppose I could be wrong. The true freshman could beat out Nurnberger. And at punter, Cam Johnson, 4-year starter, going to the combine, probably going to have an NFL career. Taking over for him looks like will be Drew Chrisman. Do you agree with that? You think it'll be Nurnberger and Chrisman?
I think it's going to be Nurnberger to start. The freshman's going to have to beat him out. The thing about the freshman, Dave, he has a boot to him. The guy has a massive leg. Now, his accuracy on the big stage, that's, something that to be determined. Nurnberger, he's shown that he can make the kicks when needed, especially in that national championship run. But you have to look at him. He struggled with accuracy as well. He doesn't have a strong of leg as the true freshman. But I definitely agree with you. Those two to start. Chrisman for sure on the punting situation.
Great insights as always from my man Jonah Booker. Thank you very much, J-Book. You can read his column every week on Bucknuts. It is Outside Columbus. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.